If I could give my younger self one piece of advice, no, it wouldn't be extreme budgeting. No, it wouldn't be to cut back on Starbucks or the things that I love. And it wouldn't just be about increasing my income. This piece of financial advice that I got from reading loads of different finance books actually changed the trajectory of my finances. I went from earning £13 per hour as a junior doctor to having over 6 figures invested by the age of 25. So if you've been here before, you know the drill. You better grab your pen, you better grab your paper, get comfortable, because I'm about to share with you the one piece of financial advice that completely revolutionized my financial journey. The money habit that completely changed my financial trajectory was paying myself first. When most people get paid, they immediately start spending their money on their bills, things that they would like to have, and then whatever happens to be left over is what they use to invest. But if we're honest, there's so many things that we can spend our money on nowadays that actually it's very difficult to have anything left over. And with the increase in cost of living, a lot of people are finding that there's very little left over. Because of that, a lot of people have the desire to invest, but they can't invest or they don't invest. However, in reading tons of personal finance books, I found that the people who are wealthy invest first and then they spend whatever is left over. And it's this single mindset shift that helped me build a 6-figure investment portfolio at the age of 25. And now I'm going to delve deeper into the different layers of this. So with this approach, it meant that my priority were my investments, and then my lifestyle would have to work around whatever was left after I invested. And I'll be honest with you, in doing this, it made me a lot more excited about the future, because I knew that I was taking practical steps to make sure that the future me was going to be in a better financial position than the current me. And a really good example of this is how I used to budget my junior doctor salary. And I actually have a video which shows how I budgeted my first paycheck as a junior doctor. And I'm going to take some of the figures from there. So I was paid £2,204 on £13.81 per hour. And of that, I put aside £1,200 as investing. 1,200 over £2,204 times 100 is 54%. So already I was instilling in myself that regardless of how much I made, at least half of it would need to be invested in some form of asset class. And then with the money that was left over, I forced my lifestyle to fit into it. In fact, my rent was costing at least 30% of my income, and during the winter months, it was costing me a lot more. And so rather than being stressed or trying to compromise on how much I was investing, I downsized and I went from living in a 2-bed, 3-floor house to living in the house share where all my bills were included, and it meant that I could continue to invest, but actually, and because I downsized, it meant that I could invest a lot more and increase my savings rate a lot more than if I had stayed in that house. And that's a prime example of causing your lifestyle to fit with whatever money is left over after you invest. And the reason why I'm such a big advocate for paying yourself first is because the numbers don't lie. And sometimes people get carried away and they're like, it's about how much you put in. No, it's about consistently putting that amount over a long period of time. And I'm going to use a practical example. Let's say you were investing £200 every month and you did so for 10 years, and let's just assume that the average return was 10%. You would have made over £35,000. £24,000 would have been your own money, and then the £11,000 would have been the growth due to the return. Let's compare that to someone who was investing £500 a month. In that 10 years, they would have made £90,000. And the reason why this works is because of something called compounding. Compounding allows your interest to make interest, which makes more interest, and it becomes a whole snowball effect. And I have a video on compounding, which I will include here. And one of the things that I really want to dispel is you don't need to have £1,000 to invest or £2,000 to invest. It's investing whatever you have, but investing that amount consistently over a period of time so that compounding can work in your favor. And one thing that I've learned is when you build a muscle for something and you start to see the rewards of it, naturally you gamify it, you get excited, and you will probably end up putting more money into it anyway. But at the start, rather than focusing on the output, you want to focus on getting the reps in. You want to focus on building a habit of naturally investing. And if you're someone who's super busy or you can be forgetful, the best way that I've been able to overcome this is by automating my investments. So I love to finish my videos with practical tips, and here are 4 practical tips that I am going to share with you guys so you guys can implement paying yourself too. So the first step is I want you to sit down and decide what percentage of your income every single month you want to put aside. You may say, Uyiosa, I've only got 10%, then you can put 10% aside. If you're able to put 5% of your salary aside, then do that. Anything, as long as it's not 0%, is good because it means that you are putting money aside for your future self. The second step, I would advise you to automate it. If you know the day that you get paid, you can literally choose that same day or later that day after you've been paid for the percentage that you'd agreed with yourself to be taken out. And then you know that your future self money has already been taken care of. If you automate it to come out before your bills, then you know that regardless of what happens afterwards, that money is completely untouchable. And that leads lastly to my last point. You have to treat this money as a non-negotiable. You can't touch it. If there's an unforeseen circumstance, you cannot take this money to compensate for that. Otherwise, this won't work. And the reason why it's non-negotiable is because at the start, we talked about compounding. If you keep touching the money, you're not allowing the process of compounding to work for you as effectively as it can. So that brings me to the end of this video. I hope you found it helpful, and I will link other videos in relation to personal finance and investing for you to watch in case you want to hear more of my voice. And also if you want to learn more about the financial tips and tricks that has helped me so far on my finance journey. And I will see you in my next video. Bye!